So Monday morning, and the homeowner doesn't like these post locations because of how they line up, and they go past this fence line of the neighbors. So because of that, we have to move these 3 posts 1 foot over, which essentially puts them on top of these plants. 2 and 3. So we're going to have to remove this one. This one we're going to remove and try to transplant with the homeowner. And this one we'll remove, and they don't care about these 2 boxwoods. So we'll do that, and once we change the spacing, it should line up with this corner. He doesn't prefer the post like it is beyond the fence line. It kind of creates a nook for things to accumulate like leaves and debris. So, nothing like a Monday morning for a change. So we'll go ahead and get started. So Monday mornings always seem to be when the problems come up. But this was pretty minor. The whole procedure this morning only took about an hour and a half. Those boxwoods came right out of the ground. We were very lucky. We were worried about transplanting that because of the heat, but the homeowner is very diligent with watering and everything seemed to work out fine. So here you can see another day when I remembered to have the spray paint. We filled in the holes that we previously dug and then redug these holes. That way we didn't have just a huge hole. We just pre-staged all these trim boards, fence boards. That way it'd be easier when the time came. I did these after the fact because I had to get 10 footers because that back section is about 8'5". Just like before, we used 2 bags per hole. Right now, as you can see this front section of the fence, we have every post set except for the one right next to the house to the left where that dirt pile is. We waited until later to do that last one. This post shifted a little bit on us, so I had to do a little bit of surgery there to get it back to right. That post was on the far side of the house. We did it similarly to the other side there where we left that one out. So we just had to go back and set that one post and concrete it in. The homeowner said she had a guy that was working on the yard, so he would deal with, all we had to do was remove the excess dirt, and he was going to remulch everything. So he said just scatter it smooth. So we removed some of the dirt and scattered the rest smooth. Here's the last and final hole for this post against the house. There was a well entrance there, so we were a little cautious, but we were nowhere near as deep as the well was. And with this bit of concrete here, we were basically done. All the holes, all the fence posts were set. That one post there, I could see it on the video while I was editing. It moved. I didn't even notice that, but shifted slightly. It might have warped a little as it was drying. I'm not really sure, to be honest. Now I'm just starting to mark out the lines so I can cut the post tops. I just realized it moved there. Here I'm just marking out with a string so I get a straight line all the way from the back fence. So if in the future the homeowner decides to connect the backyard section, it'll work out. There we go. Nice. The section where the neighbor's fence, the red fence there, she just didn't want to do that section because she didn't want to close off the neighbor, and they just kind of had an agreement to leave their fence in place. Even though it would gain them property, they just were impartial to it. And they said, don't worry about it, just leave our fence. Now this one section here, I wasn't sure what to do, but the homeowner, we came up with an idea there to float that very top, and when I use the fence boards, it'll kind of connect it and space it appropriately. Even though it's floating in mid-air there, the fence board will kind of stabilize the top cord. Okay, this is where my craziness comes into factor here, because all the other boards, I put the screws on the outside, and I did this one and didn't realize it until it was halfway done, and I said, I'm sure it'll be fine with the screws facing inward. But I finally just couldn't take it anymore. My OCD would not let me do it that way, so I had to flip them around. That Bostitch gun makes putting this fence boards up so fast. They're galvanized staples, and you could even get stainless staples if you choose, but the galvanized were fine for this job. But it just made it so fast. If you had to manually screw these in, it would have taken an eternity. It was very cramped where that section of fence that the neighbor had there. That was probably the only spot where it was a little tight to get in there with a gun and shoot, but it worked out fine. I decided to set all the fence boards high, and I'll just come back afterwards and trim them all down with that little cordless circular saw. That just seemed like the easier thing to do. Those boards were so wet still that I just installed them tight, and maybe about a week or so later it got enough sun where they're already pre-grabbed, so they're starting to dry in, even installed tight. Here I had those 1x4/8 that I was going to use for the top to cap it once I cut the board off, so I had to move those and try to get some more room so I could restage the far side. Here I'm just staging them on the other side of the yard. But I needed more boards. After I culled through some of them, after I staged these, this is at the end of the day, one day, and I went that night and got some more. And I needed about, I think it was 50 more I needed. This is the next morning, and I had stopped and got a bunch more. I had to move these because the homeowner was there, and he said he had asked if I'd start at the front. That way it would be a whole board at the front. So I just kind of shifted them a little so I could start from there, just so they wouldn't be in my way. I feel like with everything that you do, by the time you get to the end of doing it, you've kind of figured out all the kinks. So if I had a fence project a month from now or 2 months from now, I probably would be able to do it even faster than this project. That seems to be the way things go. Usually by the time, especially when you don't do something all the time, by the time you're done doing it that time, you get to be pretty quick at it. And then you don't do it again for a year or so, or longer. So I kept having problems with this battery here. You can see it kind of flakes out a bunch of times where I stop, and the battery just kind of times out there. But I was just trying to make some use of the time, and it was starting to get shaded, so I said, well, I'll just go ahead and do it today because it's shaded. Be better than in the morning where the sun's shining right on me. Just that section around the fence was the only part I had a problem with. Also, up here on the front, where that light pole is, I just couldn't get behind that. But later, I actually had the homeowner help me and we bent the pole and was able to do it. I definitely recommend those gate kits. I just got that at Depot, and it worked pretty well. Certainly would be a little bit easier if you had a second set of hands, but very doable with this solo. The homeowner asked that I have the gates swing in because the sidewalk there slopes up, so it would be a very large gap if I had it swing out to make it clear of the sidewalk in the distance. And they preferred it to be very tight so they wouldn't have leaves blowing through. So it kind of looks droopy there until I get that vertical board. I'm cutting that, and then once I put that in, it squares it up pretty nicely. So the idea is to make the fence look seamless. I think that's going to work. So I cut that board so it would kind of create a doorstop effect for the gate, and then just use the waste as the next piece so it would kind of look like the fence boards are continuous. On the far side over there, I was able to use the whole board right down to the ground and didn't have to do any cutting, so that was a bonus. So here, the homeowner asked me to cut like kind of a reverse arch, so I just cut a small one. That was about all I could get with where I put the 2x4 cord on the top. I couldn't go any lower. She said, "Oh, that's fine." Then I just hand sanded it to smooth it out. So you can see a difference in the boards there because I had actually went away for a week during this job, and you can see how the boards on the right were already seasoning in. Now this one I got real lucky there because that 1x4 broke right at the joint where the board, where the fence transitioned to the 6x6. So I got extremely lucky. So I had to get a lock that wouldn't be in the way, so I just went with a, a strike, a bolt lock, and that way it wouldn't be in the way if I swung it there, and you could still reach over and do it. So that was pretty nice. But from the outside, it's not really just an open invitation, with a handle there where anyone can walk in. But this area is a very nice area, and that's not a problem. Security is not an issue. So all I had left to do is put the caps on. I installed them with stainless screws, so that way it wouldn't have any rusting. And I just did that all around all the 4x4s and a couple 6x6s on the front gates. This job took longer for sure because of the heat. It took us 3 weeks and then 2 days where I did these 2 gates. Alright, that's it. So I just wanted to let you see the finished product here and the gardens that she has throughout her backyard. It's almost the entire yard is just gardens. Even that section there with that dead bush, that's all been cleaned up with fresh topsoil and resodded, irrigation. So she has an incredibly nice backyard. She mainly just didn't want to see those trailers and the campers. That man stores things back there, and that was the main impetus between her starting to get the fence. But I think it turned out very nice. Just gives you an added amount of privacy. Nice clean lines. In the end, the homeowner said, don't do the 1x4. I think it looks fine even without the caps. So I didn't end up doing that. I just took those boards back. So I really appreciate you watching this whole project. And if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel and like if you really enjoyed it. And I'll see you on the next job.